Welcome to another episode of the Sports Enthusiast podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Rendeck, joined by just one today.
Ashton McConnell. Lucas is absent. He's dealing with some issues, at least we think.
Yeah, we don't know where he is. He's probably in a barn somewhere, or he's dead. Let's hope we can find him. Moving on, make sure you follow our Instagram and Twitter. Our Instagram is at the Sports Enthusiast, and our Twitter is at SportsENTPod. Make sure to check us out there. We are currently being broadcasted on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, Anchor, and some other platforms as well. Be sure to check us out on all of them. Give us a rating.
And then any improvements you want to see from us, let us know as well.
Yep, absolutely. I guess if we want to start off on our power rankings this week, I'll let you go first at number 10.
Yep, we always do our power rankings each week, and so my number 10 spot is the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, I think after a loss, he's now improved it to 13-2. He always bounces back after a loss, and the Giants, they were balling a little bit. Daniel Jones was balling out quite a bit, and that defense was looking to give him troubles. I know it's kind of a first kind of test, but the Vikings showed that they can be a really good team.
Yep. My number 10 team is the Houston Texans, coming off a gigantic offensive performance against the Falcons. You saw Will Fuller really step up there with 3 touchdowns. If you had him in fantasy, good for you. He had like 50-some fantasy points in a PPR. Deshaun Watson balled out as usual. So yeah, the Texans are my number 10. You got guys like J.J. Watt on the defense, which really is an impactful type of player. So yeah, they're my number 10.
I think I heard that this was the Deshaun Watson's first perfect passer rating.
And he did have a perfect passer rating.
I don't think it was either this week or last week that he wasn't sacked at all.
That's really impressive for that offensive line because they have been horrible in the past few years. I think he led the league in sacks last year.
Yeah, and if he keeps taking hits, it could be like an Andrew Luck situation, which hopefully that doesn't happen.
We definitely don't want to see that.
All right, on to the number 9 team. I have the Buffalo Bills. I think their defense is proving to be very elite in this league, at least at the current time. 14-7. Their offense wasn't really rolling as much, but the defense helped them out a lot, and it also helped that the kicker for Tennessee missed 4 field goals apparently.
Yep, that would definitely help.
That's going to help a lot, but the fact that they can force teams to just field goals definitely helps them giving up 7 points.
Yep. My number 9 team could easily be a lot higher, but I do have them here. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. I do think they're a really good team, even though they are 3-2 this year. Their weapons on offense, they just have so many. They have Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert, Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson, Nelson Aguilar. And then obviously the quarterback, Carson Wentz, is the man. He's so fun to watch, former MVP candidate. You never know what he can do in the future. Their offensive line is really good too. And not to mention their defensive line. You got guys like Fletcher Cox coming at you. That's scary. One of the best run defenses in football. Sorry about that. So yeah, I think I'd have the Eagles at 9, but they could easily be up there in the top 5 next week if they win a big game against the Vikings.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. That'll be a very good game to watch.
Oh, yeah.
All right, my number 8 team is the team that just beat one of the undefeateds, Indianapolis Colts. Part of it was Patrick Mahomes. He was kind of limping throughout the game. He wasn't able to roll as much in the second half, but part of it, too, they ran it all over the Chiefs. Their run attack with Marlon Mack, Nyheim Hines, it's just deadly. And Jacoby Brissett, I've loved him. Even after Andrew Luck retired, people were panicking with the Colts, but I still had faith in Jacoby. And right now, I think that's their first 500 record in 5 games since, 2014 or something like that. So that's very huge, and their defense just stepped it up when they needed to. So that's why I'm at 8.
Yeah, I don't have the Colts in my top 10, but they really proved something last week against the Chiefs, and I do think Jacoby Brissett is a starting quarterback in this league. I've thought that since he was with the Patriots. That quarterback room, man, Tom Brady, Jimmy G, and Jacoby Brissett, that's looking really good right now.
Part of it is, too, they came under probably the greatest coach, Bill Belichick.
Absolutely. And Josh McDaniels, too, is calling up plays.
Yeah.
My number 8 team is the Los Angeles Rams. This is one of those teams that it's hard to rank them right now. Obviously, they were in the Super Bowl last year. You keep that in your mind going into this year. I think Jared Goff has played well. Their rushing attack is still, I mean, they have Todd Gurley, you got Malcolm Brown, and Darrell Henderson, the rookie. So I think they still have a good rushing attack. I think their offensive line is very good. Gerald Everett actually had an amazing game this last week at the tight end position, and then they obviously got their three-headed monster as a wide receiving core: Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Brandon Cooks, which is really fun to watch. I do have some questions with their defense, but they do have Aaron Donald, so he can really help out. Obviously, probably the best player in football right now.
When I was doing these power rankings, I did have the Rams in there originally, but kind of looking at some of these teams, I had to take them out just because Jared Goff is. I mean, he proved in Seattle. It was one of those games that wasn't his fault. Jared Everett dropped a pass, and that was an amazing pick by Tedrick Thompson. And then that defense is just very inconsistent.
Yep.
So my number 7, they could probably be a little higher, but I have the San Francisco 49ers. They just, before I didn't have them in at all, but I think after the win against the Browns, they showed that they are actually a good team in this league and a tough team to beat with their big, nice running attack with Matt Breida and Tevin Coleman. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, he's been playing pretty well. I mean, people had questions after the first couple of weeks, but he stepped it up this last week. And the defense with Richard Sherman, Nick Bosa, their other playmakers, really stepped it up against that Browns offense.
Yeah. I've been a hater of the Niners, but man, this week they showed some prowess, and you'll see them later in my rankings. My number 7 team is the Baltimore Ravens. This might raise some eyebrows, but I do think they're still a really good team. I do think they can win the Super Bowl this year because of, I mean, they're so talented, and then they have so many guys that they're so versatile, and they have so many guys that can beat you in different ways. You have Lamar Jackson, obviously, kind of leading the way there. You got guys like Mark Andrews, last year's first-round tight end Hayden Hurst, Mark Ingram, Hollywood Brown, guys like that. You got some pretty good weapons on offense, and their defense is really good as well. You got Earl Thomas, and then the rest of their secondary is amazing. Marlon Humphrey, Brandon Carr, guys like that. And their D-line is actually they have a lot of guys that they can throw in there on their D-line. So that's why they're a top 7 team.
The thing that scared me, though, their defense doesn't seem to be elite without the pieces they lost, especially C.J. Mosley. He was a big part. And especially with the Steelers, they went to overtime with their third-string quarterback after Mason Rudolph's scary injury.
Yeah.
And Lamar's just not looking like himself right now. Part of it is, too, I think they've dropped some passes, which doesn't help his stat line, but I feel like they can bounce back. Lamar will definitely improve, but I think right now it's just kind of hard to tell.
Yep.
All right, so to the number 6 team, I have the Eagles. I mean, the Sunday against the Jets, their defense, 2 defensive touchdowns, just unbelievable. Their offense didn't really have to do much. I mean, Carson, they had, I think, under like 200 yards passing, but I think they had 2 offensive touchdowns, and that was just Carson Wentz. I think he's gotten more comfortable after his injury. The running game is starting to figure it out a little bit, and yeah, that defense can be very lethal when they want to be.
Yeah, looking back on it right now, I probably should have had the Eagles higher than the Rams and possibly the Ravens. Man, the Eagles have been playing well. My number 6 team is the Eagles' opponent this week, the Minnesota Vikings. They are my highest 3-2 team, but I don't think they're ranked too high. Coming off a great win versus the Giants, they really did show a lot. And the Giants team that was 2-2 coming into that game, with the rookie quarterback that was kind of feeling himself, and then the Vikings kind of shut that door. They just shut down Daniel Jones in that offense, and Kirk Cousins 270 something yards in the first half, which is really impressive, and they didn't need him in the second half, so they just ran the ball out. Pretty much there. So yeah, the Vikings looked really impressive last week, so that's why they're my number 6 team.
And going to the Giants, Daniel Jones, just good luck to him. He's got no Saquon, obviously, but now no Wayne Gallman, no Evan Ingram, no Sterling Shepard. He's going to be without no threats at all against Bill Belichick.
Yeah. I think we should probably look out for maybe one of those games where you just look at the score and you're like, how does that even happen? If it's like 45-0 or something like that, it's going to be a demolishing.
All right, so now we're into the top 5. My number 5 pick, I have the Seahawks. Their win against the Rams. You could say they got lucky with Zerline's miss, But their kicker did miss earlier in the first half, which did lead to a score by the Rams. So you could say that kind of made up for it. And Russell Wilson, unbelievable. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he has any picks on the year so far, 10 plus touchdowns. And with kind of he's turned some of the receivers that you wouldn't, on other teams wouldn't be as much of a star as with Russell Wilson. He's turning them into like elite type players, kind of. Tyler Lockett, even DK Metcalf turned him into a deep threat. And then their running game with Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, I think they lead the league in rushing or like a high
Mm-hmm.
up there, so that helps them a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Russell Wilson is the man. It might be a little controversial, but they're actually not even in my. They're not even in my top 10. I'm just not a big fan of their defense. I can't get behind them. I do like their offense with Russell Wilson and Chris Carson, but I just don't have too much faith in their defense. I do think Devion Clowney's a great player, but he's kind of the only real spot where I see like whoa kind of talent right there.
You could say it's kind of like the Chiefs. They have a couple of star players: Jadeveon Clowney, Bobby Wagner, Shaquille Griffin.
Oh, I
But
forgot about Bobby Wagner. My
yeah,
bad.
but otherwise, then there's just a bunch of holes
Yeah.
that you can't really figure out.
My number 5 team is the New Orleans Saints, led by the Teddy Bridgewater, one of my favorite players in football. Obviously, we've talked about him before. He's, been my guy since Minnesota. It's really fun to see him prosper and 3-0 as a starter, which is really great to see. Bouncing back from that horrific injury. But yeah, their team is. I mean, their offense. You got Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Jared Cook, guys like that to help out Teddy, and their offensive line is amazing as well. Guys like Anders Pete, Ryan Ramczyk on that O line, and their defense is looking good as well. Cam Jordan, Marcus Davenport on the D line, and their secondary has held kind of done their part with Marshawn Lattimore and Eli Apple, guys like that. So yeah, the Saints are my number 5 team. I think they've been impressive this year.
Yeah, Teddy is still looking amazing. I know he had that pick early on against Tampa, but then came back with 4 touchdown passes, so he was able to bounce back. And then the defense they held Mike Evans to 0 catches on
Yep.
the game, which is pretty big. I mean, it was only 31-24, but they still were able to pull off the win in those kind of sneaky divisional games.
Yep.
All right, so now on to number 4. I have my Packers. Now, after the Eagles lost, there were some questions about, is this defense really good, especially the way the Eagles were able to run on them. But against Dallas, they basically shut down Zeke and tried to make Dak beat us. And I know the score was 34-24 at the end, but it seemed like when the Packers were up 31-3, it was over by then. I mean, we kind of weren't really putting in our best effort. And then Aaron Jones was spectacular. 4 touchdowns. Even on his third one, he was running and he saw Byron Jones and gave him a nice wave into the end zone, which was awesome to see. And yeah, that was a huge booster for the Packers.
Yeah, we're right now we're recording this on Wednesday, right about 4:22, and we're watching the Braves game, and Jack Flaherty led up a bases loaded walk I saw, and this is it's gonna be an interesting series. So yeah, just letting you guys know that.
Lucas is probably going to be happy about this. It was just a disaster from the start. I think they had the bases loaded and walked like a couple of batters looking at it, and now it's just out of hand right now.
So yeah, on to my number 4 team. Sorry about the slight interruption there. It's the 49ers. I really wanted to put them lower, like, and maybe like the 8 to 10 range. But man, I mean, how can you deny it with the 31-3 demolishing of the Browns? I'm really high on the Browns again. But they did not look good against the Niners. Kyle Shanahan's an amazing coach. I mean, the dude he's one of the best offensive play callers we've ever seen. Jimmy G's looking good. Their running attack is one of the best in football with Breida and Coleman, and kind of that two-headed monster there. You obviously got George Kittle as a big weapon, Marquise Goodwin, Dante Pettis, Debo Samuel for their offensive weapons, and their defense, man. Nick Bosa and D Ford off the edge is scary. DeForest Buckner inside, not Deion Buchanan, Quan Alexander at linebacker. And guys like Richard Sherman on the outside there. Their team they don't really have any superstar players, but they have a lot of guys that are above average, which is what you like to see.
Yeah, like a bunch of stars, potential stars players. And I forgot about some of the players you mentioned that were big players like George Kittle, D Ford, making big plays when they
Mm-hmm.
needed to.
Yep.
All right, number 3. I know they lost, but I have the Chiefs. Their defense, especially the run defense, looked horrendous. Like this is kind of looking like the old Packers with Aaron Rodgers without the defense, and Patty Mahomes is going to have to try and carry this team. And part of it, though, it was too, Patty did kind of hurt his ankle a little bit during the game. That O-line wasn't helping him. They dealt, I think, with a couple O-line injuries. Obviously, Patty Mahomes didn't have some of his receiving threats, but this week it seems like Tyreek Hill will be back, so that will definitely help him out a lot. But with all his weapons and everybody healthy, the Chiefs, I think, can be very unstoppable with Patty. So that's why they're in my number 3 spot.
Um, this is really surprising to me. My number 3 team is the Packers. I have the Packers higher than you. I'm a big fan of Aaron Rodgers, as you guys know. I think their weapons are really good. You got guys like Devontae, Marquez. Is Devontae gonna be back this week? Actually,
Yeah, he
okay,
should be. I think it was just a 1 week thing.
good, because he's obviously really important to that team. Their offensive line is actually looking really good this year. Jimmy Graham has actually played pretty good as well. You got Aaron Jones, who had 4 touchdowns,
Yeah.
which is crazy, and tremendously improved defense. I think Mike Patton's a really good coordinator for that. I think their one question is kind of, can Matt LaFleur maintain this play calling throughout the year and keeping the run first, or not run first mindset, but keeping the running game there to make defenses at least have to respect it. And then obviously, you're going to watch it. Aaron Rodgers is the guy you're going to try to stop, so Aaron Jones is going to have those running lanes open.
And can we keep the defense stopping the run, or was it just a one-time thing against Dallas, especially with Zeke? But I mean, and offensively too, Jimmy Graham, he did step up kind of when we needed to. Devontae was out, which was huge. We needed Jimmy Graham to step up. So, and I think he's the highest paid tight end. So we definitely need him to step up a little bit more and play worth his contract. But otherwise, I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah, this Braves Cardinals game is just really getting difficult to watch.
Oh my!
9-0. Oh man.
Nope. Make that 10-0.
Oh. Yeah. I was. I mean, yeah.
We'll talk. We'll talk about it later. But
yeah.
oh my God, Lucas,
This is hard to watch.
This is gonna be interesting next podcast.
Yeah, he'll be a little hype. Did you number 2 team?
Okay, so my number 2 team, I have the Saints. Like we said earlier, Teddy Bridgewater is looking phenomenal, kind of back to his old ways, feeling more comfortable. The defense is being very elite. Cameron Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore, other pieces that they have, and also the running game. That kind of scares me, the running game, but Kamara can be almost every down back. It seems like he's got a lot of stamina, which helps a lot. The receivers are helping out a lot. Michael Thomas, he was just bodying every Buccaneers defender last week, and that's what the contract kind of proves he can do against defenses like that.
I actually want to bring up a question. When Drew Brees comes back, what do you do?
I was saying the same. I've talked about it with some people. I'm not sure, because what if Drew Brees isn't his old self? That's what I'm wondering.
I admittedly have not been a Drew Brees. I don't think Drew Brees is as good as people think he is. At all. People are calling him one of the greatest, like one of the 2 or 3 greatest quarterbacks of all time, and I think they're absolutely insane. But yeah, I mean, I would probably have to go with Bridgewater at this point, if he maintains his pace, obviously.
Yes.
But I mean, Drew Brees isn't a bad backup to have. I'll tell you that much. And then they have Taysom Hill there too.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Their quarterback situation is looking really good, especially for the future.
Yeah. And the only way I wouldn't put Teddy in there is if they don't go 6-0 or 5-1 in these, like in their 6-game stretch, however long Drew Brees is supposed to be out. Otherwise, I feel like Teddy should stay in there. The momentum will be going. I mean, they'll be listening. Teddy's basically their leader right now.
Yep.
And so, yeah.
And another thing, Teddy Bridgewater has started a playoff game before. People don't remember. Let's not talk about what happened in the finish of that playoff game. But he does have experience, and he played in cold weather too. And now he's playing in a dome. It's fun. It's fun to play in those domes. And then another thing, I think they've kind of rallied around Bridgewater. He's kind of their leader, like you said, their leader, and he's kind of motivated them as
Yeah,
it seems.
especially with the injury, seeing him succeed, I think a lot of people, even his teammates, are just happy to see
The
him do
morale's
well.
really high right now because I think it was really dropped down when Drew Brees got hurt, but then they're like, man, this guy can lead us. So I think they're really getting behind Teddy. My number 2 team is the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is the man. We all know this. Everyone saw his little rollout, and then he ran up to the line of scrimmage, chucked it for a touchdown to Demarcus Robinson. Who can do that? Like, it's him and Aaron Rodgers. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they're my number 2 team. I do have many concerns with their run defense. There's a reason why last year in the AFC Championship, the Patriots ran it 46 times, I believe, on them. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. You have Chris Jones there, who's a game changer. So they are going to have to outscore people, which we all expected coming into the year. So there's not really any surprises for the Chiefs. They're kind of going as expected as the number 2 team.
And so, seemingly, I think we know who both of our number 1 teams are. I actually have the Patriots. They're undefeated, and it was looking a little rough against Washington, but then they took care of business. I think 33-7 they won. Obviously, you got Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. I mean, that's going to be a hard team to stop, and their defense is looking like probably the best you could argue. The best defense in the league,
Yep.
And then their running attack, Sony Michel, Rex Burkhead, you name it, is just amazing.
I actually have a tie at number 1 between the Miami Dolphins and Washington Redskins. That's going to be a heck of a game this week. That'll decide the number 1 spot. No, all jokes aside, it's the Patriots. They're amazing. Bill Belichick, I've said it every week. I think in this podcast, he is the best coach in football. He's the best coach I've ever seen on any sport and any team sport. Their defense, probably the best in football, like you said. Their offensive line's looking really good this year. Sony Michel is finally starting to get involved. I mean, man, he hasn't even been really involved in the first couple of weeks, and they're still destroying everybody. You got Josh Gordon on the outside, and then obviously Tom Brady, who's the man, kind of leading the ship. So that's really all I got to say.
And going to that Miami Washington game, tickets I saw are cheaper than the local zoo there. They're $16. That I mean,
it'll cost you more for gas than the tickets.
That's just terrible. All right.
I'm just gonna kind of list off some of the statistical leaders this year. I'm surprised I got that one off. Yeah, so I'll just start with I'll do like maybe top 3 or top 5 depending on the stat. In passing yards, we have Patrick Mahomes leading the league at 1,831. Number 2, we have Matt Ryan of the Falcons at 1,655. Mahomes is in the lead by almost 200 yards, which is really impressive. Jared Goff at 3rd with 1,649. Dak Prescott in 4th with 1,606. And Phillip Rivers in 5th with 1,465. And touchdowns, we have Russell Wilson with 12, Mahomes with 11, Matt Ryan with 11, Dak with 11, Jameis with 11, Deshaun Watson with 11, and Lamar Jackson with 11. The leaders in picks, this is the one you don't want to be on. We have Baker with 8 picks this year, which is, that's hard to look at. Matt Ryan with 7, Jared Goff with 7, Josh Allen with 7. Let's see. The quarterbacks that have been sacked the most, we have Marcus Mariota with 22, Kyler Murray with 21, and Andy Dalton with 20. Yikes. On to rushing. Number 1, we have Christian McCaffrey with 587 rushing yards on 105 carries. Number 2, we have Dalvin Cook at 542 rushing yards on 92 carries. Number 3, we have Leonard Fournette with 512 on 95 carries. And highest average per attempt, we have Matt Breida at 6.5 with 52 carries for 340 yards. We have Saquon Barkley at 2 with 6.4 yards per attempt on 37 carries for 237 yards. And then tied with Saquon at 6.4 is actually Duke Johnson, which is surprising, with 32 carries for 205 yards. And a weird one here, we have Lamar Jackson at 4th with 50 carries for 308 yards at 6.2 per attempt. On the touchdowns, we have Aaron Jones with 8, leading the league. Number 2, Christian McCaffrey with 6, and tied with him is Mark Ingram at 6. On to receiving. Michael Thomas leading the league in receiving yards with 543 on 45 catches. Amazing stats right there. We have Amari Cooper with 512 on 32 catches, and Chris Godwin at third with 511 yards on 33 catches.
Yeah, Jameis has loved him a lot, and with Amari Cooper, Dak definitely loves him, especially with the trade they made.
Yeah, here we go again. Touchdowns. Chris Godwin with 6, leading the league. Number 2, Amari Cooper and DJ Chark tied at 5. Um, so yeah, those have been some impressive stats right there. And then the best defenses in football have been, if it loads right here, best defensive players, we have Shaq Barrett with 9 sacks, which is very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 in sacks has been Myles Garrett, who I believe was my pick for Defensive Player of the Year before the podcast started. Number 3, we have Mario Addison. Clay Matthews at 6 sacks.
Wow.
And 5, we have Preston Smith, your guy, at 5.5 sacks. Picks, we have Devin McCourty leading the league from New England with 4.
Yeah, I think he went on a streak.
And then we have another New England player, Jamie Collins, at 3. And then a whole bunch of players tied at 2. Let's see here. Most tackles this year, I'll just read off the top 3. We have Luke Kuechly with 56, Blake Martinez with 55. That's your guy. And Jordan Hicks with 54. Yeah, so that's really what I got to say for the stat leaders. If there's any other random stats that you guys would like to see, leave in the comments. So now we're on to our favorite team's games. We'll start with the Packers.
We'll just kind of give a quick description. So with the Packers, obviously a 3-4-24 victory. We were up 31-3 towards the end of the third quarter. Just absolute domination. Dak, we forced him to make dumb errors. We held Zeke to under 50 yards, I think. He was barely involved in the pass game. And obviously Aaron Rodgers was setting up plays, setting up touchdowns for Aaron Jones in the end zone. He did have 4, but a lot of them were red zones because of Aaron Rodgers making incredible throws like normal. So that was just exciting to watch. Even without Devontae, I was a little worried we were going to struggle, but we looked really good.
Yeah, I was getting a little worried there for your boys. At the end of the game, I was watching it pretty intently. It was getting really close. I was thinking maybe Dak could lead that comeback, but he didn't end up doing it. Obviously, my team is the Vikings. They ended up winning 28-10, and pretty much they controlled the whole game. Like I said, Kirk Cousins over 270 passing yards in the first half. Adam Thielen went off. Dalvin Cook went off. I believe they both had, in the first half, Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook both had more yards than the Giants' offense, which is kind of a fun stat. The offensive line actually looked good. I think it's because the Giants' D-line's absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
But, so hopefully they can continue that this week against a very good D-line. And a guy that I will be mentioning a lot, Fletcher Cox, number 91. He scares me as a Vikings fan.
A couple of things scare me, too. One thing, I saw Rhodes got hurt. I think he came back in, but every week, or almost
he gets hurt every week.
Yeah, and it's not good for your star corner. And then Diggs, is he happy, though?
I think he is, maybe. I don't know.
Because he only got 3 catches for 44 yards, which I don't know what he cares about more, his stats or winning, or maybe he cares about both, but at the time, I don't know. It's just
he looked happy after the game when he did that little wink to the reporter.
Yeah, so we'll see.
On to our top MVP candidates this year. We'll start with Ashton again.
All right, so I did the top 3. So number 3, I have Christian McCaffrey. Without Cam Newton, he's been carrying the offense. He's just highlight after highlight. He's just electric. Probably the best run. It's close between him and Saquon right now, or maybe if Saquon was healthy, then we'd be saying the same about Saquon.
Mm-hmm.
So, and number 2, I have Russell Wilson. Like we said earlier, he's almost carrying that offense, especially against the Rams when his first touchdown throw to Tyler Lockett. I thought he was throwing that away, like the announcer said, but somehow Tyler Lockett got it right in the money spot and caught that. And the plays Russell Wilson's been able to make his last couple of years is just absolutely incredible. But I think you got to keep it with Patrick Mahomes. He was a little hurt last week, but he still tried to play his best. He still doesn't have any picks this year. And you see without him, it's just terrible because their defense doesn't help him back him up at all. And obviously he's doing this without weapons on offense either. So That's my top three.
Looks like somebody was reading my notes again. I do have Christian McCaffrey at 3, like Ashton did as well. He's kind of been carrying that offense with Kyle Allen as their quarterback. Hopefully Cam Newton gets back soon for his sake, because Christian McCaffrey's been getting so many touches. You almost worry about injuries. Number 2, Russell Wilson. It's really impressive to see what he's been doing, especially under who I believe is a very average offensive coordinator in Brian Schottenheimer. He does have a run-first mindset as well. For him to be putting up the stats that he's putting up with those kind of challenges is very impressive. And then it's Patrick Mahomes number 1. I think you can argue Russell Wilson, but I'm not going to because Mahomes is the man. He makes all the throws. He's amazing to watch. He's got those highlight plays, like I mentioned earlier, rolling out to his right, flicking it back towards the middle of the field for a touchdown. So yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, I think basically it'll be between Russell and Patrick, unless both of them get hurt, which hopefully that doesn't happen for the league and their teams.
Yep. On to kind of some guys that are fading a little bit with Dak Prescott and Lamar Jackson. What do you got to say about that?
So with Dak, we saw it start with the Saints. Their run, it doesn't help. The run game isn't going at all. Their all-line had a couple of injuries against the Packers as well. But it seems like Dak, I don't know if he's not reading defenses or what, because some of the throws he makes, he just doesn't see the guy. So I don't know what's going on with him. And part of it, too, is Zeke just can't get it going. I don't know why, but they just can't get going. Their receivers haven't been healthy as much. And as for Lamar, I don't think teams are now playing for the pass a little bit more, but they're not really running it either. It seems like they're trying to throw it kind of like the Cowboys. They're going away from the run, and instead that kind of puts pressure on both quarterbacks to make tough throws. Some of it is to drop passes. Amari Cooper obviously dropped a pass, led to a pick. I think Mark Andrews dropped a pass that led to a pick as well. So, I mean, part of it's the receivers, part of it, I don't know if they're just not reading defenses or not establishing the run. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities with these two guys because I think they both of them should be on run first teams, in my opinion, because you have guys like Zeke Elliott, Mark Ingram, and then Lamar Jackson, obviously with the prowess with his legs. Dak Prescott's not a bad runner either. And actually, now we have some news here. Mike McGlinchey, former first-round pick of the Niners, offensive lineman, is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks.
Ooh.
So they're without both of their starting tackles, which is huge for Jimmy G. So yeah, we'll see how they can. They do have a bye week this week, which is good. So they will be prepared, but I do think that's a huge loss for them.
I did see also Vontez Perfect. His suspension did not get reduced, and he is officially out for the year, which will hurt the Raiders a lot. He seemed like he was a big part to that defense, so it'll be kind of tough for them. But I mean, I think they can still be fine.
Oh yeah. So and the Raiders actually pulled a huge upset against the Bears this week in London. So that's really impressive. But back to the Dak Lamar. I do think that both of them can bounce back, though. They are both really good quarterbacks, in my opinion. And with Dak, he probably should have signed the contract that he had a couple weeks ago.
True, but he could not sign the Cowboys if they are worried about drafting a quarterback. They can just franchise tag him, and Dak will still get like $20+ million. I mean, it's not the amount he wants, but he still has a chance to develop and earn that.
I mean, he wanted 40. You'd figure they'd probably offer 35 or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah. You want to move on to Patrick Mahomes' injury?
Just injuries in general. We'll start with Patty's. I was watching this game, and it seemed like one of the plays he got sacked on, or it might have been incomplete. He was going back, and his lineman kind of stepped on his ankle a little bit. He came up, kind of was limping, and that wasn't helping them out a lot because that's Patty Mahomes' game. He's a scrambler, kind of like Aaron Rodgers, can make those type of incredible plays, especially with their O-line kind of struggling as of late. And yeah, that really affected him a lot. He couldn't do as much. Their run game wasn't helping him out a lot. Their lack of weapons either. And yeah, that hurt them Sunday night.
Yeah. I don't really have much to add. You kind of got it all there. Mahomes is obviously probably he's one or two in the best quarterbacks in football. I don't think anyone's really going to doubt that. So yeah, he's an amazing player. We all love to watch him, so hopefully he can be all right going forward.
All right, the second injury is involved with the Steelers and Ravens. Mason Rudolph. That was brutal hits.
Yeah, and I mean they got Josh Dobbs for a reason. They traded a fifth round pick for him, so I don't think they'll be too bad off going forward with him. But yeah, you
Wait,
don't
no,
like
I
to.
thought they traded him to Jacksonville.
Oh, you might be right. Yep, that's my bad. Um, yep, that makes me look embarrassing. But hey, it's uncut for a reason. So
Yeah,
um,
and with that hit, it kind of looked like where Earl Thomas hit him. It's kind of like when you're boxing and hit him in the chin in the nice sweet spot that knocks him out right away. That's kind of what happened. It looked like, and it was just, ugh.
well, going back to my horrible point about Josh Dobbs, now you wish you really had him for that backup quarterback role. But yeah, it's gonna be a tough sledding for the Steelers going forward.
And then obviously Saquon, he didn't play Sunday, and he's not playing this Thursday, which I think it's smart. He's their future pretty much. Him and probably Daniel Jones, I would say so.
Yep.
And it looks like Wayne Gallman's not playing either. That's not going to help the Giants out, especially Daniel Jones with the lack of receivers and help.
Yep. So we're both going to analyze our favorite teams' games going into next week. So we'll start with Ashton with the Packers versus Lions.
So this is a big game. Lions just coming off a bye week, coming into Lambeau. Last year they did defeat the Packers in Lambeau and at home, but Packers were just kind of on the struggle bus, and it was a Week 17 game. And so this will be big for both teams. Both teams doing really well. All right, for the Packers, we're going to look over some stats for their defensive stats. So defensively, they're 26th in rushing yards allowed per game and 14th in passing yards allowed per game, which is really well. That shows our secondary has stepped up a lot, and they are technically tied for third in takeaways with 11 and tied for ninth in sacks with 15, which is a big improvement from last year. I think they were ranked 20-something last year. And as for the Lions, what's huge is they're ranked 20th in rushing yards allowed per game and 30th in passing yards allowed per game, which against Aaron Rodgers, you got to look out for that. But takeaways, they're tied for 7th with 8, which helps out a lot. And sacks are not doing the hottest. They're tied for 24th with only 9 sacks. And with how good the Packers line is, that might be a tough challenge for them. The Packers, though, looking at the Lions' stats, I mean, their passing defense isn't looking to be that effective, and if they can't put pressure on Aaron Rodgers, someone will ought to get open, and Aaron Rodgers can make the plays. And seeing what Aaron Jones did last week, that was if he can do it again, that'd be incredible. But as for the Lions, let's see if the Packers' rush defense was not a fluke and can actually keep it going. And let's see if the Lions will feed Carry-On and try it and dominate that defense. But otherwise, the passing attack is going to be a little bit hard. Matthew Stafford has been balling out this year, so it'll be very interesting to see, especially with the Packers at home. So I think they got the edge, especially on Monday night.
Yep. Packers are favored by 4.5 against the spread in that game. For those wondering, and yeah, so my game to analyze, as you know, is the Vikings-Eagles game. It's going to be a huge game for both of these teams, both 3-2. Kind of needing a win to take over kind of the division, take head of the division. Obviously, the Vikings can't, but they can kind of become closer in this game because it's a huge one. And this is going to be off the dome. I don't really have any notes for this. I think the big thing is controlling the line of scrimmage for both teams. I mentioned earlier that the Eagles probably have the best offensive line in football. If they're not the best, they're top 3. They can really control that line of scrimmage. And can the Vikings D-line match up with them? You have Limbo Joseph, Neil Hunter, Everson Griffin, Stephen Weatherly, guys like that the Vikings can throw at them. But I don't know if they're going to be able to kind of hold the Eagles there in the rushing attack. Eric Hendricks and Anthony Barr are going to have big games as a linebacker because I do feel like the Eagles are going to feed Jordan Howard, who I don't think that's a great idea. I think they should be feeding Miles Sanders. With Jordan Howard, last week he had 3 touchdowns, so they're going to keep feeding him. I don't think the Eagles have much of an edge in the passing game, though. I think Carson Wentz is awesome, but the Vikings' pass defense is really good. They have Xavier Rhodes, Trey Waynes, Mike Hughes, Harrison Smith, Anthony Harris back there. Then you obviously have Eric Hendricks and Anthony Barr who can drop back in coverage. So I'm not really worried about the passing game. I'm just really worried about the running game. And on to the Vikings offense versus Eagles defense. Again, I think I say this every week with the Vikings, control the line of scrimmage. You have Garrett Bradbury, Pat Elflein, and Josh Klein there. All of them need to be worried about 91. 91 is the guy. I'm going to keep harping on it. Fletcher Cox is the second best defensive lineman in football, in my opinion, right behind Aaron Donald. The dude can absolutely wreck a game, so we need to keep him in check. If we don't, the Vikings are going to lose this game, no doubt about it. I think Kyle Rudolph can have actually a big game. I don't think the Eagles linebackers are very good in pass coverage. I think they're good against the run, but they're not very good in pass coverage. Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs need to step up as well against this very weak Eagles secondary. And Dalvin Cook, I don't see him having a big rushing game, but I could see him being effective in the pass game, getting maybe a couple dump offs and screens.
And for the Vikings, will it kind of help Deshaun Jackson? It seems like he is going to play, but will definitely not be healthy. So as far as a deep threat, that'll definitely help with that. They won't have to worry about him as much.
Yeah, I believe he's actually listed as doubtful going into this game. So, yeah, hopefully he doesn't play for the Vikings' sake because he could definitely beat us deep. Whenever he's on the field, you got to watch out for those deep balls. And if I had to pick it, I'm going to take the Vikings in a really close game, maybe coming down to the last possession or two. So, yeah.
And so now we kind of we choose underdog pick, a team that's not really favored that we think will actually win. And so I chose the Titans at the Broncos. Broncos are favored by -2.5, and I think with the Broncos, they kind of had a fluke game, I feel like, against the Chargers. Joe Flacco actually played well. With the Titans, they're very inconsistent, kind of like the Browns. So I feel like they'll be able to get back on track, especially I think Ryan Succop's back, so that'll definitely help with kicking there. So that's my underdog pick.
I have two, but I'll give you if you want my official one. My official one is the Saints upsetting the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags are -1.5, so it's not really much of a spread. But the Saints are the underdogs in this game, so I'm going to take it. I think that they're a really good team all around. You have Teddy Bridgewater there. It's going to be tough against guys like A.J. Boye. And I don't know if Jalen's playing or not.
I guess he could be questionable.
Yeah, but their defense is still awesome. So hopefully Teddy, I do think he'll be able to kind of step up to the challenge. And then just another pick that I have in there, it might be a surprising one. I think the Browns can actually beat the Seahawks at home. I've been a kind of a Browns guy this whole year. I do think that they're a really good team. Even though they're off to a rough start at 2-3, I think they can bounce back this week, beat the Seahawks at home, kind of shock some people.
Okay, now we're going to be heading over to the MLB, and as you know, the playoffs are going on, and there are currently 3 divisional games that are going to be heading to a Game 5, but one series is over, sadly. It's the Twins series. They did get swept by the Yankees. Just was a disaster. I'll let you lead things off, Aaron.
Yeah, it's just brutal. I've been a Twins fan my whole life. Baseball is my favorite sport. Twins were looking amazing this year. They were so fun to watch. And just to see them end like that, 3 for 28 throughout the series with runners in scoring position. I mean, you're not going to win a baseball game hitting like that. The bats, I mean, we got runners on base. That wasn't really the issue. Luis Arias looked amazing in his first postseason, over 400 batting average.
Yeah, he had the best batting average on the team.
Which is actually really impressive, and we are picking up Nelson Cruz's $12 million option, which we obviously should have done no matter what. So that's obviously positive looking to next year. We're going to have guys like Alex Kiroff potentially called up. Even maybe Royce Lewis, you never know, getting called up. And then obviously Gatterall he might become a back end of the rotation starter next year, or he'll still be in the bullpen throwing absolute gas. The Yankees, they played well. Props to them. Their bullpen shut the door every single time. Their starting pitching actually looked really good. You have Severino, Tanaka, and Paxton. Those 3 pitched really well, and props to them for getting the job done. And they did just play better than the Twins. Sad for me, I was going to go to Game 4, which sucks. But, yeah, that's just the way it goes, I guess.
Yeah, their offense was amazing, but part of it is, too, our bullpen was awful. I think 14 earned runs by the bullpen.
Something like that.
And yesterday I was looking at stats. I think Gatterall only pitched Friday night at 1 inning, which I don't know why that happened. Trevor May, when he pitched, I think only pitched like a third of an inning.
Yeah. He had 1 pitch going into Game 3.
and I think he got an out too, and
Mhm.
yeah, we don't have him pitching anymore, which I don't know. When he has his fastball going, that's just a great thing to
Mhm.
see. And offensively, it was just a disaster. After Miguel Sano had a terrible series, Mitch Garver, he was missing a lot of pitches. I think had a lot of strikeouts.
Yeah.
I know Eddie Rosario had a good game 3, but otherwise he didn't play that spectacular. Just as a team in general, it was terrible offensively.
And I don't want to look ahead to next year too much, but when you look at the starting pitching on the market, there's one guy that I'm really looking at in particular. He's from down south in Houston. He throws really hard. He might win the Cy Young this year. Garrett Cole is going to be a free agent. So maybe if the Minnesota Twins would like some more starting pitching, we could maybe knock on his door. Um, and that would be awesome to have him starting Game 1 of a playoff series. I tell you.
Do we have the money to?
I mean, we have a rich owner. He's got $3 billion to
Oh,
spend. So I mean, I don't know. It'd be nice to see.
yeah. I mean,
And I mean, we don't really have any guys on like horribly bad contracts.
kind of rookie deals and stuff, lower contracts.
And I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to look at it too much. But when you look at our bullpen, we'll have Taylor Rogers probably in the closer role, and then you got, I mean, maybe Gatterall. If he doesn't become a starter, you could put him in that eighth inning, maybe seventh inning role along with Trevor May. And then even so, Sergio Romo, and then sadly Sam Dyson. I think he's probably out for the year next year as
Yeah,
well.
which I that sucks to see too with that incident with possibly not telling the Giants about his injury.
And, I mean, I'm not really mad about it. We didn't give up much really at all.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you want to move on, we can. It's up to you.
Now to the game fives. Let's kind of discuss this. Let's start with our winners. So we'll start with the game that's currently going on. Before this, I picked the Braves to beat the Cardinals, but looking at it now, the game's 11-0.
Yeah.
It looks like it's out of hand. Like it's not even been home runs. It's been either walks or just good solid hitting by the Cardinals with their veteran leadership.
Yeah, you can't watch. You can't walk a pitcher with the bases loaded. That's just embarrassing. Yeah, it's 11-0. I had the Braves going into this game. I had them winning as well, but now I think the Cardinals will be playing the winner of the Nats Dodgers.
And heading to that one. So, for the Nats Dodgers, I have the Nationals actually winning. I know I picked the Dodgers to win the series, but I'm liking what I'm seeing from the Nats, and they got Steven Strasburg on the mound. And don't get me wrong, Max Scherzer is amazing too, but let's not forget Steven Strasburg was once upon a time considered possibly the best pitcher in the league too. He is just a phenomenal pitcher with his heat, off speed, all types of things, and obviously their offense has been giving the Dodgers some trouble as well.
Yeah, and I'm actually super excited for this game. It's a rematch of Game One. Walker Bueller in Game One, I believe he let up one hit through 7 innings. The dude is electric. He's got amazing stuff. Him and Strasburg compare so similarly to each other. Excuse me. Walker Bueller is obviously a lot younger. But when you look at these guys, their career paths look to be going in the same place, and that might be going to the Hall of Fame. These guys are amazing pitchers, and I'm so excited. If I had to pick a score, I'm going to go Nationals 4, Dodgers 3, and a close one. I think the bullpen's going to blow it for the Dodgers.
I'm going to go Nationals 3, Dodgers 1. I think Strasburg is just going to have a lights out game. And I think Bueller, he'll have a lights out game, maybe give up one run. But yeah, as you said with the bullpen, they're not as strong. I think they'll probably choke this one.
Yeah, and when you look at it, they'll probably end up bringing Patrick Corbin, and the Nationals will to close out the game.
He pitched.
He pitched Game 2, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
So I think he is available to be in the bullpen. I mean, he's got an electric slider that you can watch out for.
All right, and heading on to the last game five. This one's actually a really shocking one. The Astros and the Rays. Who would have thought that the Astros would be potentially getting eliminated? It just blows my mind with how electric that offense is. Their pitching, obviously. I'm just good for the Rays for showing that they can battle.
Yeah, and I think this is a testament to the Rays' season. In Game 3, when they were pitching playing against Zach Greinke, excuse me. He has made over $30 million this year, and the Rays lineup combined, I think, made 21.6, which is just kind of incredible to see. And they won the game too, which is even more incredible. But the Rays are kind of one of those feel-good stories. They were second to last in attendance this year, which is insane. They're a fun team to watch. You got guys like Kevin Kiermaier. I don't know if you saw yesterday the relay that they had
Oh
from
yeah.
Kiermaier to Adames to home to gun out Altuve. That was just electric
Yeah, I
to
saw
watch.
that. And Jose Altuve, he's a quick player.
Yep.
I mean, short players can usually quick players. He's one of those speedy ones, and that was just impressive. I thought he was going to be safe, but
Yeah, that was impressive to watch. And Kiermaier, he was in my top 3 for Platinum Glove, so he's kind of showing off for that one. But yeah, going back to this game, I'm not Garrett Cole. I know will be pitching for the Astros, who we mentioned earlier, is absolutely an electric player. And Tyler Glasnow for the Rays, which is going to be awesome. Um, Obviously, Glasnow coming off an injury, he won't probably pitch. I wouldn't assume he'd go any more than 5 innings. Garrett Cole, he could probably go upwards of 7. Then you have Ozuna back there in the pen, who could probably go a couple innings as well. Going to the score, I would probably have the Astros in a very close one, 3-2.
and say the Astros and the Dodgers lose. Who's really the? It's looking like the Yankees then would be the favorite, but
Yep.
I don't even know if they would be. Who knows if they're pitching with it's just a fluke against the Twins or what? But if they have to face like a team like the Nats, I think they'd be given tough times.
Yeah,
So
and there's a reason why I picked the Nats in the World Series. They got obviously those 3 amazing starters, and their lineup is super deep as well. All right, so we're gonna finish it off with kind of our fun betting section. Talk about our fantasy teams and how they did. So I guess just getting into it, what we were wrong on, what we were right on, maybe if we have any. So yeah, Ashley, we can start with you.
okay, so starting with the betting line games, I went 1-2. I got the Packers game wrong, -4.5. I got the Giants game right at -3, and I got the Rams game wrong at -9. This was a couple weeks ago. Obviously, last week we talked about MLB, and now going on to fantasy. I said to start Kenny Galladay against the Chiefs. It paid off, I think, over 23 points. I think that was a good pick. And then to sit Tariq Cohen, I think that was good as well against Minnesota. He had a touchdown, but he finished with under 10 points, so I think that was also good. And I also said to pick up Wayne Gallman with Saquon out, and he went off against the Redskins. I don't know if you would have started him then or next week, but he did get hurt, so I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, I went 0-3 in my lines. It was just a rough week. You're gonna have that in betting every single you're gonna have one of those weeks where you just do horrible. I don't have as much detail as Ashton does. I didn't really look back on it, but I was completely wrong about the Twin Series last week. I had them winning in 4. They get lost in 3. We mentioned this earlier, but man, it was just a tough one to watch. So yeah, I guess we can probably get into our start sits and waiver wires if you'd like.
Or we'll start with our personal fantasy
Oh, okay.
teams. So I went 1-2, I believe, but in the one I did win, I put up over 200 points. This is a PPR league, but that's just amazing. I was happy to see that my first ever 200 plus point fantasy helped with the Aaron Jones, Mari Cooper, Eagles defense. Helped me out a lot.
Yeah, I went 2-2 in my fantasy leagues. I had an okay team. I mean, I didn't score a ton of points, but I believe I scored like 130 something in a PPR, which is okay. So yeah, I guess now do you want to do start sets?
Yeah.
Okay, start with you.
Okay, so my starts its pickups. My start, I would say Larry Fitzgerald. They play the Falcons this week. Kyler Murray. It's nice having a veteran to help him out. Larry Fitzgerald's always there when you need him. And after seeing what happened with Will Fuller last week, that Falcons defense got exposed bad, and Christian Kirk's kind of questionable. So if Kyler Murray needs some help receiving wise, Larry Fitzgerald is a guy you can trust.
Yep. My start of the week is Curtis Samuel going against Tampa Bay. You have obviously DJ Moore as the wide receiver 1. They're going to be focusing on him a little bit, and then you have Curtis Samuel for those deep bombs. He's one of the fastest players, probably the fastest player on that team, one of the fastest players in football. So yeah, I believe he can really take advantage of that really bad Bucs defense.
Mm-hmm. Now to the sits. I said Robert Woods. They play a tough San Fran defense this week, and with that offense, you got to try and get everyone involved. Cooper Kupp, who seems to be Jared Goff's safety valve, Brandon Cooks, even Todd Gurley, and now it seems like Gerald Everett.
Yep.
So that's why I would say sit him.
My sit of the week. I mentioned him earlier. I don't think he. I think this is more of a team thing. It's not necessarily a skill thing. It's actually Miles Sanders from the Eagles. They're playing the Vikings this week. The Vikings are really good against the run. And even if they are going to run it, it looks like it's mostly going to be Jordan Howard. And Carson Wentz's kind of safety valve player is obviously Zach Ertz. So I think Miles Sanders is kind of the odd one out this week, unfortunately, although I do think he is the most talented back in Philadelphia.
All right, and now someone I think you should pick up if you haven't. I would say Philip Dorsett. Their next two games are obviously Thursday night against the Giants and then the Jets, which two defenses. The Jets are better than the Giants defensively, but they're still not that spectacular. And with their receiving threats they have, they need a deep threat. Tom Brady always loves to look for him.
Yep. My waiver wire might. I don't think it'll shock anybody, but when you look at the matchup, it's not going to look great. It's going to be Jonathan Hillman of the Giants. They do play the Patriots, which is horrible to see. But with the Giants' kind of philosophy, they only feature one back most of the time, so it's probably just going to be all him. And when you think about it, once the score is probably going into the 70s to nothing, Daniel Jones will be throwing those just dump offs to get the game over with. It kind of seems like. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with Jonathan Hillman. I wouldn't expect him to have a great game, but maybe if you get maybe around 11, 12 points, you should be happy.
And to wrap things up, we're going to do our betting lines, our picks of the week. We each do 3 picks. We're keeping track. And so here are my 3 picks. I have 49ers at the Rams. The Rams are favored by -4. I'm actually picking the 49ers. I don't trust that Rams defense enough, especially with our run attack the Niners have. And the offense just kind of seems inconsistent with Gurley not, I don't know if he's healthy or what, his knee. Yeah, I'm picking the Niners for that one. And then Saints at the Jags. This one was a tough one. Jags are favored -1.5, and I'm actually going to pick the Jags. I'm loving what Gardner Minshew has been doing every game. It seems like they're always in it. They haven't been blown out at all, so that's why I'm picking them. And then Bengals at the Ravens. Ravens are favored -11. This is probably a little scary, but I'm picking the Ravens. I know the Bengals do suck this year, obviously, with injuries and just as a team, but I mean, Baltimore, I think, can get it going. They're at home this week. They can definitely cause problems.
Yeah, so let's just go over mine. The Lions at the Packers. Packers are favored by 4.5. I'm taking the Packers at home on Monday night. I have a lot of confidence in that team, although I really want them to lose. My next one is the Falcons at Cardinals. I've been saying the Falcons a lot this year. They're favored by 2.5 against the Cardinals. I'm taking them again. It seems like they have favorable lines, although they hurt me every time. So I'm taking them again, and if they don't work this week, I'll probably stop on that. And then Saints at Jags. I'm actually going to go against you and take the Saints at +1.5. I think the Saints are just kind of too good a team. I do think the Jags are a really good football team, but I don't think they're on the Saints level.
Yeah, I think you could pick it either way. I mean, I was thinking about picking the Saints too, but I thought roll with Gardner Minshew again.
Yeah, Lucas would probably like that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been it for the podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed. It's been probably around an hour. Expect this to be one of our shorter podcasts. Obviously, let us know whether you'd like it, like the longer episodes or the shorter ones. We'll obviously adjust. Obviously, make sure to follow us on Twitter. Sports ENT Pod, Instagram, Sports Enthusiast Podcast. Check us out on all platforms. Pretty much wherever podcasts are found, you can catch us on there. If there's any platforms you'd like, let us know. We're open to any suggestions you guys have. Ashton, any thoughts?
No, I just had a great time. A little weird having Lucas here, but I think things went well.
Yeah, things definitely went well without Lucas. We assume he'll be back next week. We're not sure. And it's been it, guys. See ya.
See ya. Thanks.
Yep, have a good one.